afternoon, SuperTalk Mississippi. You were tuned into your radio happy hour. That's the good things. I'm your host, Rebecca Turner. We've got Rhino in studio with us today. And here's your friendly reminder that spring break is next week for many students. So why don't you go ahead and plan a little getaway over at visitmississippi.org. And if you're at your computer or streaming good things on your phone, then head on over to supertalk.fm/watch. You'll see I am joined on this International Women's Day with Staff Sergeant Shelbi Constancio. Did I get it right? I've been practicing your last name. Constancio. Okay, well, I knew I'd mess up something, so let me get that out of the way.
That's okay.
But she is the
Many
Mississippi.
people know me by Squirrel.
Oh, I can work with that. Are you okay with Squirrel?
I'm good with it. Yes.
Okay. Well, you are the first female in the Mississippi National Guard as a Cavalry Scout. Did I get that right?
Yes, Cavalry Scout.
And there's also a short for it. What's the nickname for it? Or Cav Scout or Cab Scout? You've shortened it and Cab Scout. See? These nicknames and these short things, they really work for me well, Squirrel. That feels weird, but you said it was okay. So first, congratulations, though. I think this is a really cool honor. It shows that your dedication to not only the Mississippi National Guard, but to set goals and sort of go and achieve them. But first, just explain to us what a Cab Scout is. Like, what is the mission or what do you do in that position?
Okay, so the primary role of a Cav Scout is reconnaissance. They are typically one of the first in a designated area. They gather enemy information through patrolling, observing, listening, out on posts, just giving real-time information to assist in a commander's decision-making skills during a mission.
So what extra training would you have gone through to sort of go above and beyond maybe the entry level Mississippi National Guard training to then be able to do Cab Scout?
I had to actually go through different levels of training regarding how to identify roads, bridges, when to maybe detonate some explosives, what kind of enemy equipment, vehicles, or even ammunition identification, things that aren't typically learned in the basic training aspect.
How do you practice? Do you have flashcards? Do you go on Google Maps and sort of test yourself? Or I'm sure the military puts you through plenty of rigorous training, but I'm thinking how do you study for that? Or how do you, create those memory maps in your head? Or is it just a skill that just comes with the territory?
So actually being a Cav Scout and learning those specific traits, it is a specialization that if you don't practice, you lose it. And to study for that, we had flashcards, PowerPoints, Google did help. We spent time working as a group, just going over those things and racking our brains and throwing one another off on, well, this is what this looks like, but it's about the same as something else.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned a group, Staff Sergeant Shelbi, Squirrel. I'm going to get comfortable with it, I promise, because you had to also work with predominantly males, because it wasn't until, I think, 2015 that females in the military were even able to go out for a Cab Scout. So what's that like, sort of coming into, a historically man's sort of group or world?
It was quite the experience, only because I've had a dream to have a combat arms MOS or job since I was 16, and that was in 2003. So being able to come back into something that I've always wanted to do was above and beyond expectation.
I'm curious, this specific position, you mentioned in your video that the National Guard put out, which was beautifully done. They can find it on SuperTalk's Facebook page as well as the National Guard's, that you had dreamed about being in the military when you were like 15 or 16 and even saw yourself maybe in one of the higher up, then not open to women positions. So I'm curious, who inspired you to even, or what inspired you to even enlist in the military to begin with?
I have a legacy of military family. My grandfather was Special Forces. I have a cousin who is still living, was the first Congressional Medal of Honor recipient for Vietnam and Special Forces. Colonel Roger Donlin, he lives in the Fort Leavenworth area. And just knowing that they'd done so much, I wanted to do just that.
And that you have done, and it is International Women's Day, which just is a national day to sort of highlight women that are doing extraordinary things, which is so cool to me that we get to talk to one of Mississippi's own. If you're just tuning into Good Things, we have Staff Sergeant Shelbi Constancio, who is the first female for the Mississippi National Guard as a Cab Scout. I'm not going to try that word twice. I'm going to go with the nickname there, Cab Scout. And I think this is, I love the quote that you have to see it to be it, but then you didn't see it and still got to be it. But when you heard the release of the ability for women to sort of achieve those higher ranks, I mean, was this like circled target on your to-do list, this specific job?
Yes, absolutely.
So what happens next? Do you make like now the goal is like possible. Do you just go back to your room and start to make your 3-year, 5-year, because that was 2015, so it's taken 5 or 6 years for you to reach this point. Did you have a 5-year plan to get you here in 2021?
Actually, no. I didn't really have a time frame. I just knew I wanted to achieve it. With being a traditional National Guard soldier and having a civilian career, going into another job kind of was difficult, only because I had to plan through work. But we ended up being mobilized and deployed to Kuwait with the brigade that went, and so that put a little time extension on achieving the goal. But once I became full-time with the National Guard, it just fell right into place.
It fell right into place, and it feels like that you are made for this position or made for this place. I know, again, you've mentioned that you went above and beyond to make sure that your male counterparts thought that you could pull your own weight. I mean, it is what it is. It's the reality of the first time, females getting to step into certain roles. There are people who are skeptical, and maybe rightfully so, in some of the positions. So what did you do? Was it physical strength that you made sure that you were, equal with the males? Was it mental agility? Was it your flashcards? What was it that you sort of made sure that your team there, or the group that you had to work with, knew that you could go toe to toe?
So I understand that my physical makeup, my body makeup is different than a male's. So yes, I did train physically. I know that I have the mental capability of achieving these things, but what I did do is harness the strengths that I do have and combated the weaknesses by knowing how to kind of leverage towards being attainable or achievable to whatever task that I had to complete. For instance, working in one of the vehicles, a lot of the equipment is a lot heavier for a smaller built female. I can use different vantage points by adjusting and putting things in different directions to put where they need to go. Instead of muscling everything in, I just used my mental capabilities to push through that.
Well, I think that's awesome. What would you say to young girls who may look at the Mississippi National Guard as a career opportunity or path in life, or the military in general?
So I have 4 young daughters, and the one thing that I tell them, because I know that they have thought about a career in the military, is that don't let what is in front of you scare you. If you know that you are physically, mentally, spiritually even capable of achieving that goal, go for it. Because if somebody tells you you can't, that should just fuel the fire to push you to know that you can.
Amen
and that
to
goes
that.
For any young woman.
Totally amen to that. I have to ask Staff Sergeant Shelbi Constancio, how did you get the nickname Squirrel?
When I was in high school, we would do SWAT competitions with our Marine Corps JROTC, and we had to run obstacle courses with our recon team. When I ran the course by myself, they were like, she ran that like a squirrel.
Love it. I knew there was a story to that, and your story is inspiring, and thank you for your time today on Good Things on International Women's Day. Thank you so much, too, for your service. We appreciate that,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
all that the Mississippi National Guard is doing, so kudos to you. But stick with us. We've got more good things coming up next.
Farm Bureau Insurance is excited to introduce Drive Down, our new deductible rewards program. Drive Down lets customers save on their deductibles as a reward for driving safely and can help them become safer drivers in the process. Getting started is simple. Download the free mobile agent app and enroll in Drive Down. As a reward for signing up, you'll save an immediate 5% off your deductible after your first trip. Enroll in Drive Down